Is the AI chip rally finally running out of runway? Or is the market just changing pilots mid-flight? That, my friend, is the whole game right now. One earnings cycle can make it feel like the party's over. Then one supply update, and suddenly the lights are back on and everyone's dancing on the tables again. I'm the AI voice clone of Aurum Archon, your velvet-gloved guide through the capital markets maze. Polished, a little enigmatic, and hopefully sharp enough to nick through the hype without spilling the good stuff. And today we're looking at the NVIDIA aftermath, which is less about a collapse and more about what happens after a king becomes so large the court starts mattering almost as much as the crown.
Because that's the first thing to get straight. NVIDIA still looks enormously powerful. Its position in AI accelerators, its software moat, the developer ecosystem, the way customers still seem to design whole clusters around its roadmap, all of that remains a very big deal. If you're trying to build at the frontier, NVIDIA is still the name most people say first, and for good reason. But the market's mood has shifted a bit. It's gone from only NVIDIA matters to, right, who else gets paid if AI spending keeps humming? That's not a trivial difference. That's the difference between a one-man band and an orchestra. Still loud, still dramatic, but now you've got to listen for more than the lead singer. And honestly, that broadening makes sense. Once a theme gets this big, leadership rarely stays perfectly concentrated forever. The first leg of a rally is usually about narrative purity. The next leg is about throughput. Who can manufacture? Who can package? Who can supply memory? Who can actually rack, cool, and ship these monstrous AI systems into data centers without tripping over their own shoelaces? Even a kangaroo could trip over this, and these are billion-dollar deployments. That's why the NVIDIA aftermath matters. It's not a post-mortem, it's a redistribution of attention. NVIDIA may still anchor the trade, but it's no longer the only name carrying it uphill. Investors are starting to look at the bottlenecks around the crown jewels. If compute demand remains real, then the supply chain becomes a map of secondary winners. The clever bit is this: a stock can remain fundamentally strong and still stop being the only obvious place for new money. Markets do that all the time. The story matures. Expectations get heavier. A company can post strong results and still trigger nerves because the bar has floated into the stratosphere. That's not weakness exactly. That's gravity. Different beast. So when people ask whether the AI chip rally is over, I think they're often asking the wrong question. The better question is whether the rally must remain narrow to survive. I don't think it does. In fact, a broadening leadership base may be the healthiest sign available. It suggests this cycle is becoming industrial, not just emotional. Less slogan, more plumbing. And plumbing, mate, is where the money gets strangely serious. Not glamorous, sure. Bit like restoring an old trail bike. Everyone notices the shiny tank, but the whole ride depends on the parts covered in grime. That's where we go next, because the case for AI spending continuing may have less to do with one superstar ticker and more to do with the machinery around it. So can the rally keep climbing? I think the bull case still has real legs, and it starts with demand that appears bigger than a single product cycle. NVIDIA's Blackwell platform has drawn intense interest, and the market has treated that demand signal as evidence that customers are still spending aggressively to scale AI infrastructure. Not dabbling, scaling. There's a difference. One is a lab budget, the other is a corporate mandate. Then you've got data center capex. The major cloud and platform players have continued signaling heavy investment in AI infrastructure. Again, not forever in a straight line, not immune to pauses, but the direction has been clear enough. They are still building. And if the hyperscalers are still spending, that acts like a tide under the whole stack. Chips, memory, foundry capacity, networking, servers, power systems, cooling, the lot. Now, where it gets interesting is supply. Demand alone doesn't make a rally durable. Demand plus constrained capacity, well, that's where pricing power and backlog narratives
start getting very sticky. TSMC sits right in the middle of that. If advanced packaging and leading-edge manufacturing remain tight, then TSMC becomes more than a supplier. It becomes a gatekeeper. That's why some investors increasingly like it as a cleaner picks and shovels expression of the same theme. Micron is another piece of the puzzle. High bandwidth memory, HBM, has become one of the market's favorite acronyms for a reason. AI accelerators need vast amounts of fast memory, and strong HBM demand has turned memory from a sleepy commodity story into something much sharper. Not simple, mind you. Memory cycles can be slippery as a wet fish. But if AI server deployments keep rising, Micron has a credible seat at the table.
And then there's Supermicro, which is a very different angle. Less about the chip itself, more about the system. If enterprises and cloud customers want AI servers fast, configured, deployable, and tuned for real-world racks, then server integrators matter. Supermicro has been pulled into that spotlight because AI demand doesn't end when the silicon leaves the fab. Someone still has to turn those components into functioning machines customers can actually plug in and use. So you can see the shape of the new trade. NVIDIA may still be the marquee name, but TSMC, Micron, and Supermicro represent the broader layer beneath the glamour: manufacturing, memory, and systems. Picks and shovels, if you like. Slightly less cinematic than the Emperor's throne, but often sturdier when the crowd gets jumpy. Now, the risks. They are real. Expectations remain lofty. Valuations in parts of the AI complex have assumed not just growth, but near flawless execution. That's where rallies get tested. Not when business disappears, but when reality arrives only very good instead of miraculous. If Blackwell ramps well but not perfectly, if capacity expands but still pinches, if enterprise adoption takes longer than the market's caffeine-fueled imagination hopes, then money can rotate. And rotation is the key word here, not collapse. The market may shift from pure AI euphoria toward execution, delivery, margins, and who can turn demand into actual revenue without blowing up costs. In that world, leadership can broaden beyond NVIDIA even if the AI spending cycle stays intact. That's the subtle but crucial distinction. You don't need the theme to die for the winners to change. So my read? The AI chip rally may be losing some of its one-stock drama, but that doesn't mean it's out of fuel. It may simply be moving into its more mature phase, where the whole supply chain starts to matter, and investors stop paying just for dreams and start paying for proof. That's a different mood, not a funeral. And we'll keep following the money trail next time.